Okay, so the class is gonna start. So this is about the 5 primary like psychic skills that we normally relate to when we're talking about psychic abilities. This is clairvoyance, claircognizant, clair audience. It's hearing, seeing, feeling, knowing, and tasting. And then they all start with clair. And so we're gonna start with the first one, which is my favorite, the clairvoyance, vision, clear vision, psychic vision. Okay, and what I've learned is clairvoyance is directly attached to your imagination space. Imagination is a terminology that was attached to it by a people who don't fully understand what is happening. And so then that gets labeled and then that gets put into a dumpster for science to explore later and tell us more about that. But outside of that, you know, we all have things that we see in our imagination space. And when we start to believe that and we start to follow that sight, we actually start to create a path before us in our own reality and our experience that is going to line up with that vision of what we have for ourselves, because we see what the road takes us. We see what's going on. We just have to learn to believe in what we see. And in psychology, they teach us that our subconscious self takes all information for true value. It's only our conscious self or superconscious self that has filters that says this can't be real because it's a movie. But our deep self has already processed it as this is factual, no matter what our conscious mind thinks. And so we are doing our own selves a disservice by believing things are inauthentic. By nature of the universe, there's only everything or there's nothing. You know, there's only like all of creation and the potential for everything to exist, or there's like nothing. Even the name nothing gives nothing a something, you know, so nothing's like, you know, void of any name or substance or anything, you know. So everything, every sensation that you go through as a being is real. And your conscious self, your subconscious self, and your superconscious self all process this information for real value. And this affects how we navigate trauma, or how we get our needs met, or how we've like learned to like behave in society. And so with our imagination space, a lot of us have very, very strong and vivid imagination, especially like as star beings. It's just called imagination. And so we belittle it, you know, we're like, oh, you're just making it up or whatever. But what I've learned, and I've had other people, I've gone into a meditation and I was like, all right, I'm going to imagine everything that this person's telling me. And so I did. I imagined the whole experience with that kind of mentality. And after I was done, some random person who I didn't even know came up to me and told me about this one thing that I imagined differently. Like the only thing I decided to do differently, I jumped into this lava and just like did a thing, like swam around and then climbed down. They're like, I saw you doing that. And so to me, that started to bring some connectivity that what I am imagining, other people are also imagining, and there's real truth into that. And so I kind of just demystify some of this imagination space as clairvoyance, as once we start to believe in the things we see in our mind, whether it's imagination or clairvoyance, it's the language that we attach to it. What we see is real. And when we use that in our language, I'm seeing unfortunate outcome, or I'm seeing that this is going to be good. It's in our language. You're seeing it. You might not be physically seeing it, but you're seeing it mentally and cognitively. So moving on, we're going to move on to the next psychic ability, which is clairaudience. This is psychic hearing. Now, psychic hearing comes off in the form oftentimes as ringing in the ears. What we are is we're a vibration, like a radio antenna, tuning into a signal. And if that signal is not clear, it's going to come in fuzzy or ringing or in a density that we're not quite conscious enough to pick up. Now we can hear the sound, we just can't hear it specific enough to break it into understandable qualities. Now, as we start to awaken more, the ringing happens, and in its full thing, it's like hearing voices talk to you. It's very, you actually hear like energies like communicating through you, and you're like, wait, is there somebody there? You know, am I going? And you start to question your own self of belief. But again, everything you experience is real, and you got to treat it with that level of professionalism, and say, look, I see that you're real. I'm hearing you, I'm getting your message. What is it you're trying to tell me? Everything's here to bring you a lesson of some sort. And so it's like, okay, what can I learn from this, and how can this help and benefit me on my path? And so what we can do to enhance our psychic hearing is practice in meditation, just listening to the ringing. Deepen your, like, listen to like where its point of origin, and then that'll actually start to awaken you into understanding the language that the ringing represents. Does that make sense? And so we have tasting. So Clair tasting, this is where you're just like randomly getting flavors in your mouth that are completely unassociated with your environment. Some people might get a burning taste. Some people might get like a skunk or a gross taste. Some people might get like delicious food tastes. But this is associated with your mental self picking up tasting on a secondary level that's not akin to the physical experience. And oftentimes we are so programmed to rush through our food that we don't taste it. They're like, taste your meal, stop and enjoy that. Well, I don't have time to stop and enjoy it because I'm trying to do the next thing. Whatever the next thing is, I want that experience, you know? And so we rush through our food, and we start to lose our sensitivity to taste, and we only taste explosive flavor. But we don't taste the little flavors that build into that and titrate our way up to this explosive flavor. And so when we can calm ourselves down and we can eat and we can like try to like listen to the ingredients in the food and maybe like try to pick them out, like, oh, I can taste that onion, start with the obvious stuff, then your system is going to tune itself to listen even more to the flavor of the food that's going on inside of it, and it's going to pick those up a lot greater qualities. And so as we practice psychic tasting consciously through real tasting, when we get that energy, because it's energy just flying around, and again, we're just antenna absorbing this, our taste buds is what's picking that up. Now we're able to start to pinpoint some of like exactly what those flavors are and what that energy is trying to tell you. Because there's always a relation, and it might be something you're seeing and smelling, and they're trying to like get you to see this thing and smell this so you can understand what's going on deeper or something. But it all comes up to you as the translator to translate what's going on in here, so that way you can understand more of like who you are as a being and what you're going through. And so anytime you have this taste outside of the environment, that's Clair tasting. That's a psychic sensation of taste. So it's really common, in my opinion, that all of us humans carry all the psychic abilities. I actually call them, my girlfriend and I, we call them secondary sensing. We're multi-sensing beings. We were primitive 5 sensing beings: eyes, sight, taste, touch, hearing, and smelling. Now we're evolving into multi-sensory beings where we have intuition. We have like images that we see in our mind what help us guide if things are going to be good or bad outcomes. We have thoughts that we communicate and interact with in order to like analyze the environment around us to better understand things, you know. And we have all of these secondary sensing abilities that are starting to activate as we mature. And it's up to us to start to learn to understand, okay, what is the sensations my body's going through? And what is that telling me? And so we're going to move into the next ability, which is, I believe it's claircognizance. This is knowing a truth or an answer. They relate this to test taking. When you take a test, the first answer you pick is most often the right one. If you go over there and change it, that doubt will kill you every time. And so when we know something to be true, we need to trust in that and say, like, this has got to be true. And if it's true to anybody, it's true to me, because I went through the experience. I'm having this, and this experience is true to me. It may not be true in the environment or fact check somewhere else, but it doesn't change the fact that our subconscious self is really going through this experience, and it's true to that. And so we have to start to listen to these deeper sensations, because they're all trying to tell us the story. And the story is what's happening around us, where's our path going, you know, what's going on. And so we're trying to understand our story that we're experiencing, and then relate that into our external experiences and say, how can this help? And so when we know things to be true, that often is like a moral compass, and we go through life blind. You don't have any abilities, you don't have a path. It's not just like a blueprint. They're like, here, this is you, and this is you. and here's your map, and here's your challenges, here's your quest, here's all your keys, here's all the stuff you're gonna need for life. Good job. Go ahead, easy road, you don't get any of that. And so like we have to just like walk this way, and we're like, that doesn't feel right. And then we just take this path and just see what happens. You don't know what happens. You'll never know the difference in the path. You just have to trust that internal self. And so it's important that we start to slow down and listen to these knowings, so that way they become more louder in ourselves. We ignore our deeper sensations because our ego mind is actually plugged into that. Our eyes are plugged into our brains, our nose is plugged into the brain, the ears are plugged into the brain, the tastes are plugged. Our mind is our primary 5 senses. And when we start to override that with deeper sensations, the ego feels like it's not needed anymore. And so then it's like, I don't care about that. I only care about what I'm tasting. I only care about the experience that's in front of me, And so it's up to us as the consciousness to say, hey, I need all of you. You're all welcome. You're all loved. I need the tastes and the sensations, but I also need the visions and like the knowledge of what to do and the thoughts that help me navigate this. And so that's going to bring me into, what am I missing? Voyance, audience, cognizance, tasting, hearing. No, I did hearing. That was the feelings. Thank you. So clear feelings are often translated through our emotional body. When we start to release some of our judgment against our own feelings and the shame that we might put on ourselves for having feelings, we can let go of the fact that our feelings are not a good thing to have. Start to embrace like, I do have feelings. My feelings are very real to me. And whatever my feelings are, they're still trying to help me tell me about the story. What am I going through? Maybe I'm hurt. Maybe I have needs that are unmet. Maybe I'm unheard. Like, what are my feelings? And oftentimes our feelings can also translate into the environment's feelings. If you're having an argument with your partner, you're changing energy. So you might go in there calm and ready to go, but your partner's like anxious and fluttered. By the time you get to the middle of it, you're anxious and fluttered too, because you guys have shared that energy and you guys are now like transmuting the same energy. So oftentimes you can stop and recognize, what am I feeling? And that'll like translate into what your partner is feeling at the same time. And so we can use better language and say, are you feeling unheard? Because I'm feeling unheard. Are we, something in our language is like off, we're trying to get on the same page. So what page are you reading? We can stop and we can like have a reality check. And then we can say like, oh my gosh, this is what you're feeling. And then like, how can I help and support that deeper? And so our emotions are really, really real. And oftentimes we, as male energy specifically, I feel like we carry like a lot of karma of like having emotions that makes you weak and vulnerable. And so it's up to us to show that we can have powerful emotions and still be strong masculine men too, because caring is really important. Love is really important. Like father figures without love are abusive and like spiteful and hurtful. Father figures with love are very protective and nurturing and loving. And they create like an environment that's safe for everybody around them, not just their children. They recognize their fathers to everybody. These other ones are like, my kids can't get out of the house fast enough. And then they're like back to their own thing. So as male energies, it's up to us to kind of break through some of this karma specifically and say like, I have strong feelings and these are what my feelings are. It hurts my feelings when you like say those words, you talk bad about me. I have a sensitivity to that, so my feelings got hurt. I'm sorry, I was like reactive. So that way others can see like, oh, okay, so you do have sensations, and I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to hurt your feelings. I was just frustrated and upset myself. I do know that you have sensitivities to that, and I'll be more mindful and respectful to you of that, so then yourself better and they know you better. And now we can work together to not be so hurtful or subconsciously hurtful or indirectly hurtful, or whatever way, because all this translates into how we show up physically. And when our feelings are hurt, oftentimes we'll just be mean and spiteful and hurt others, because that's just where we're at and what we're feeling. Where we can step through consciously and say, I'm sorry, I'm just having really hurt feelings. I just need love. I need attention. I need hugs, cuddles, kind of use your words differently. So that way your partner can have the opportunity to give you the need that you actually need, which is love in some form of it. whether it's gentle love, whether it's nurturing love, whether it's caretaking, some form of it. We need love. We just can't ask for it. And that can be really, really hard. I mean, instead of asking for it, we can like ask for it indirectly by starting a fight, because that's going to get attention, and we want attention. Like, it doesn't matter. I just want your, so then we can stop and say, honey, I just need you to spend 5 minutes with me, and then let's connect on that. So our emotions are really real, and whatever emotions we have to recognize that consciously and say, this is what I am experiencing and going through, and using our voice and our language so we can share that to our environment. So then we can better understand our environment, because maybe you're going through a graveyard and you're getting spooky and scary stuff. And it's probably because like maybe the graveyard is really sensitive, and now you're disturbing its peace, and they're like concerned about like who's walking on me, and and we can translate it into, now I'm scared, but it's like maybe the energy around us is scared of us. Humans, and humans are like the most destructive species on this planet. Everybody should be scared of humans. Like it's understandable if like they're feeling that. It's up to us to show up and say, hey, I'm here to be like loving and light, and rest you guys, or whatever I'm here to do, and just show you that I'm here, walk with a kind and gentle foot. So these are the primary psychic abilities. Again, I talk about thoughts a lot, and to me, thoughts are telepathic communications. So every time we're thinking, thoughts come in first person and third person language. So third person is you. So when I'm talking to you physically, I'm actually a separate entity than you are. Just like if I'm a thought form and I talk to you physically, then see you later, buddy. And then so I talk to you physically, then, and you're separate. You have this obvious separation between us. Our thought forms have to be treated the same way. You're not your thoughts. Your thoughts are projected at you, just like my words are projected to you. And so seeing when your thoughts are saying, you need to go to the store, or I don't like you, things like that, that's an other entity communicating to you on a non-tangible wavelength, which is thoughts. That's considered telepathic communication. It's if we're cognitive of it or not. Being cognitive of it, we can start to ask, okay, what are you trying to say? I see that you're hurt, and I see that you're not helpful. You don't make me feel good about myself. So if you're going to be a thought in my space, I need you to come at me and tell me, I love you. You got this. You can do it. I'm going to be here for you and support me, or tell me what is the issue. I don't have a need being met. I need more attention. I just need more. I need to go out. I need time for myself. I need a massage, self-care, something. So it's not using abusive language. It's using intelligent language, because we're intelligent beings, and our thoughts are very intelligent too. And we can hold them up to that standard of having intelligence and demonstrating that. And if they're not going to demonstrate their intelligence and their moral character, then they cannot be in my space, because I only interact with beings who vibrate with me, who can like communicate and make me feel good after I'm done. I don't want to like communicate with you guys and then feel worse afterwards. I'm here to help and love and feel good about it. So we can hold our thoughts accountable too. But that's the end of the class. It was just about the psychic abilities. Is there any questions about anything that I labeled, or?
No, but I have the ringing in my ears. Like last night was really bad. It's like I seen a shadow walk by, and it's like sometimes I go to sleep, and when I'm just about to fall asleep, it's like something takes over my body, and I like scream, but I can't move.
Sure. You feel like that's sleep paralysis?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it when you're falling asleep?
It's when I'm like super stressed or anxious about something. That's where I feel like. But it mostly happens on my parents' house, where the guy died before we bought the house.
Oh, okay.
That's where it first started.
Sure. And you're very sensitive to that energy too. Yeah. Okay. Wow. Well, thanks for sharing that. It sounds like you have like several psychic traits that are like coming off, that are like activated. And so I hope you like have learned something from this class that you can like take and use internally with yourself. Yeah.
We're
and then
building a yoga room and a meditation room. So.
Oh yeah, that'll be so great. Cool. Thank you so much for coming to my class.
Can I get the link or?